So by now, you must know, unless you've been watching Fox News as your sole source of news, that the Trump Organization, as well as its CFO, Alan Weisselberg, are facing a number of different charges, basically alleging that for a decade and a half or so, it's been running a variety of different little schemes to avoid having to pay taxes. And the prosecutors in New York have come up with 15 different felony counts. Prosecutors have zeroed in on the benefits that Weisselberg in particular and his family received from Trump, including tens of thousands of dollars in private school tuition for one of Weisselberg's grandchildren, normal like company stuff, pay for the dude's grandchildren's schooling. A rent-free apartment on the Upper West Side of Manhattan and leased Mercedes-Benz vehicles. Weisselberg's wife also received her own leased Mercedes, which I think it's safe to say that we're in favor of robust benefits for workers, but this is probably going a little bit beyond that, and you're still supposed to pay taxes on that stuff. Now, Weisselberg, in response to these charges, has pleaded not guilty in an appearance in a Manhattan courtroom just yesterday afternoon. That includes a scheme to defraud, tax fraud, larceny, and conspiracy. The Trump Organization also pleaded not guilty. The charges carry the potential for years in prison, although so far Weisselberg has shown little signs of cracking under the pressure. Although what does that even mean at this point? If he was cracking, if he was worried, it wouldn't be like live in the courtroom. He'd be talking to his lawyers, they'd be talking to the prosecutors. That's how that works. And of course, that is one of the key parts of this. You have these charges against Weisselberg. Will he cooperate? And if he does, what kind of information can he provide about the Trump Organization? Presumably, he knows virtually everything that's been going on there financially, but we don't know yet if he's going to crack. Cenk, do you think that it is likely this will result in this, I think, 73-year-old man who doesn't want to spend the rest of his life in prison cooperating?
Yeah, so first of all, I just gotta agree with John on one hilarious point. He hasn't shown any signs of cracking because it's Perry Mason or Matlock, have your choice, right? Where he's like, oh no, that's such a good question. I don't know what to do. Bead of sweat going down your brow. He hasn't ever been in court or in public. How would you know what his psychological state is? And by the way, at this point, signs of cracking or not, there are no signs of cracking. You either do or you don't. We haven't started the trial, so you're either going to cooperate with prosecutors or you're not. So it's binary. So it's just an absurd way of framing things. Secondly, I can't wait for the kids' reactions, which we're gonna get to, okay? Like we might have done it, but it's not that big a deal, is an awesome defense that we're gonna share with you in a second. But we talked yesterday on yesterday's show about, well, look, this is not the biggest charge that they could have gone with. Obviously, there's the issue of them lying on their taxes while inflating their assets value when applying for loans. That juxtaposition could lead to two different charges and is a higher level charge than this, let alone the Stormy Daniels charges that Michael Cohen went to prison for and could charge Trump with. But Trump's lawyer basically had the same reaction as Trump yesterday that we told you about. But for the lawyer to do it is even worse, I would argue. He said, oh, this is all they got? Wait, you're implicitly admitting that there's way worse, and you're shocked that they only charge you with these crimes that you think are low level. As the lawyer, I really wouldn't go in that direction. Now, guys, think about it this way: like, if they haven't charged me with anything because I haven't done anything, presumably the same is true of you, right? If they charged you with tax evasion and larceny, which is for Weisselberg, right? And you didn't do it, you'd be like, what the hell's going on? I can't believe they charged me with this. Then you wouldn't go, oh, that's all they got.
Did you guys even look? Yeah.
And if you said, oh, is that all you had?
Yeah.
The prosecutor would presumably go, apparently we didn't dig deep enough.
Yeah.
And here, the only question in terms of how this is all gonna wind up, to come back to your question, John, is, well, there's two layers to it. One is, how clearly do they have him here? Because they're charging the thing that they think they have the most evidence on. That has got to be their strategy, right? At least to start with. And if they think, hey, you know what? You can go to prison for 15 years and you're 73, on even the smallest of the charges. Good luck. Well, if he thinks he's really gonna go under, then he might go, I'm going to show you signs of cracking. All right, in the middle of the trial, and then flip on Trump. But all that is really unlikely, because the reason is, since these are not super high level charges, and you don't know which way the jury's gonna go, you might think, even if I lose, it'd be my first offense. Am I really gonna get prison time? And I'm gonna throw myself at the mercy of the court and say I'm 73. And by this time, Trump is almost back in office. I mean, all these things are running through their mind.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Right? And
although this is a state matter, so presumably he couldn't get involved anyway.
Thank you, John. That's a really good point. Then Trump couldn't do anything about the state matter. But anyways, but in terms of like, I might not get anything anyway, even if they find me guilty. That's why it's not like, it does give me pause. Like, I hope that's not all you have, right? And so then the second layer is, and this is a more important layer, is are they doing this as an appetizer and they're gonna move on to the entree? If they move on to the entree, all is good. If this is all they have, then it's not that they're not guilty of it. It's just that it's not a super heavy charge, and that's why I ironically kind of share Trump's lawyer's reaction, which is that all you had on Trump?
Yeah, yeah, and if the last few years have taught us anything, don't expect that just the obvious wealth of crimes and suspicious things that an investigator could find will lead to that investigator finding those things. You can get let down by those things. But anyway, yeah, I think it's an interesting question. It would be like his first offense or whatever. Just because he could get 10 years doesn't mean that he would. That said, it's an incredibly wealthy guy who was dodging taxes on like free private school educations and cars, working for the Trump organization. All of that works together. It's not that they couldn't get the exact jury that they want, but that doesn't, I don't think that that's likely to lead to a jury that's super sympathetic for you.
I know, but even in sentencing, it usually goes to the judges, and when it's wealthy clients, and they go, at this point, Alan Weisselberg is 75, and he'll walk in with a cane, like, just like the mob does, right? Yeah, and he'll be, and like Vince the Chin Gigante, he'll be like, I'm already losing my mind, please let me off. And the judge is like, oh my God, he looks just like me. Okay, fine, you don't have to go to prison. That happens all the time. But only if you're wealthy.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't about like him showing signs of cracking, like the huge amount of sweat dripping down. He's gonna show signs of one thing. He's gonna show signs of becoming a senile old man who can barely hold himself up, in which case he's probably gonna be just fine. Or he's gonna get signs of Donald Trump calling him a rat, and then he's definitely flipping. Because Donald Trump, as of right now, is still saying he's an honorable man. How could they possibly do this to him? But he can turn on a dime if he has to. This guy could have been a rat, he was incompetent, all he could do was make coffee. That could be forthcoming as well. But that said, what the Trump organization lawyers had to say about the charges that we found out about this week, that they barely found anything, is only like a 5% more savvy or nuanced case than is gonna be made by some members of the Trump family, including in this video, you'll see Eric Trump.
Crime is rampant. People are leaving the city in record numbers. It's dirty. It's disgusting. New York's no longer what it is, and they have an entire district attorney office and attorney general's office that's focused on $3.5 million to take down a political opponent. I mean, this is what they do. This is New York State for you. This is worse than a banana republic. It's truly horrible. It's truly horrible. And Raymond, you know this better than anybody. They're afraid that my father is going to run in 2024, and they're afraid that he's going to win. So they don't look at corrupt Hunter Biden. They don't look at the fact that he's taking money from China and the Ukraine and other countries, and he's selling his finger paintings for $500,000 to undisclosed people. No, they don't care about any of that. They care about going after innocent, great human beings. Alan Weisselberg is one of them, and taking out Donald Trump and going after a political opponent.
Okay, it's not in that clip, but at one point he says something to the effect of, "It's only like $3.5 million."
He did mention.
Oh, he did say that clip?
Yeah.
I gotta start paying attention. But anyway, I honestly didn't hear it. This coffee needs to be even stronger, perhaps. No. But anyway, that's not an argument, and like bringing up Hunter Biden's not an argument, dude. Don't try to make us buy that you fundamentally are aggrieved by the idea that a rich guy might make money off of who his dad is. I don't think that that's something that really keeps you up at night.
Yeah, my two favorite parts of that was like, it's only $3.5 million that we stole, and you guys are making a big deal out of this. Did you know New York is dirty now?
He said it's dirty and disgusting.
Like, I don't.
You know that's going to be where they get your jury from eventually.
So I don't know that the jury's going to be moved by it. Guys, it's only $3.5 million. I mean, you guys didn't steal $3.5 million over lunch. That's why they keep saying like, is this all you got? We stole way more than that, right?
Yeah.
So that's not a good defense, and not what you should say on TV when you're a member of the Trump organization. The Trump organization has also been charged, and that could be used against you. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we'd like to play a clip of Eric Trump, executive vice president for the Trump organization. And then the squirrel thing was great. Like, Hunter Squirrel Biden.
Yeah. It's a big thing to do. Hunter Biden could be like the most corrupt person in the world. That has literally nothing to do with whether or not your company committed crimes.
Yeah, in a best case scenario, you're saying, Your Honor, did you know there are other criminals in the world? Yes, but they're not on trial here. You are, and that is not a great defense.
Yeah, the defense that they have right now, at least in terms of keeping their base in line and donating, is that, as I alluded to in the intro, if you're watching Fox, like, at least in the thing with Eric Trump, they're talking about it. Like, they just bring him on to defend Weisselberg. There's no critical pushback or anything. But the night before the charges, when we knew the charges were coming, Sean Hannity had a town hall with Donald Trump and didn't bring it up. How do you have the former president? His company is facing criminal charges, and you just don't even talk about it. When they were bringing Weisselberg in, I saw Liz Power had a mashup of the shots of CNN, MSNBC, it was like shots of the courtroom and everything. And on Fox it was, did you know Hamilton was eligible for PPP funding? Ooh. Literally, that's what they were talking about. So like, there's millions of Americans that have no idea what is going on about any of this.
I like the idea of they go to court and Alan Weisselberg's attorney is like, Your Honor, we might have stolen a good deal of money and evaded taxes. On the other hand, his name is Andrew Hamilton. Andrew Hamilton. Okay.
Hunter Biden never misses his shot to do something corrupt.
No, we just missed that I accidentally called him Andrew Hamilton.
I can't tell. My brain is melting. Anyway, you want?
I mean, God, if Peter Washington could see me now, he'd be rolling around in his grave. All right, one last thing. On YouTube Super Chat, J.R. Alfrian wrote in, how come everybody gets in trouble but Trump? Everyone gets charged, fined, and arrested but Trump. Theoretically, JR, they are waiting for those guys to flip and give them better evidence on Trump. They already have pretty good evidence on the Stormy Daniels case. If that's not a layup, I don't know what is. And remember, there's this super important part of your question. These prosecutors, if they seem jittery, to me they do, right? They show signs of cracking. Not in this case, but I mean overall in how careful they're being in approaching trying Trump. Remember, they think their entire career is on the line. That if they get the case even 1% wrong, everybody's gonna blame them for the rest of the time. So that's why they're being super duper careful. And even though they have Trump on the Stormy Daniels case, because Michael Cohen already went to prison for it and Trump was his co-conspirator, they're still like tiptoeing, like, I don't know, maybe. And so they're desperate to flip somebody like Weisselberg or someone else that works at the Trump organization, so they'll have even better evidence if they try to try Trump. Because if you try to try Trump and you blow it, that is a debacle. Yeah. Right, and by the way, guys, I want to say this every time, right? If Trump didn't actually do it, I don't want him arrested, indicted, or charged, right? So if they don't have the evidence because he didn't do it, then by all means, they absolutely positively should not charge him, right? But
that is an interesting, purely hypothetical.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but so much of the evidence is already public. That's why we're acting fairly certain. And some of his co-conspirators have already gone to prison.
Yeah.
And that's why JR asked that question, and that's why we are fairly certain that Trump, in fact, did do it.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.